because we only have 30 seconds on TikTok, every time I need to answer a question, I'm kind of rushed, and I know that I don't get all of the answers to you guys. And I love the questions and I love the comments that come in, but I figured that we would create a YouTube channel to direct people there so I can answer your questions in a lot more time and way more thoroughly. So Beave is kind of swimming in the background here in the pond, and he keeps kind of coming up and checking out what I'm doing. So obviously the first question that I wanted to answer is, why do I have a beaver? I am a licensed Department of Environmental Conservation licensed rehabber. So what I do is people will call me and they will say that they have an abandoned or a sick or an injured wildlife that they bring to me and we rehab them. Most animals take anywhere from sometimes just a couple days to maybe up to 3 months to be rehabbed. Most wild animals that come here, we limit contact with them. That's number one. So very little human contact. And pretty much what we provide is we provide medical care, food, housing, and to make sure that they are able to fend for themselves once we release them. Beavers are completely different. And I had to learn this because it's not every day that we get a beaver here. So beavers stay with their families for 2 years. And in that 2-year time period, their parents teach them everything that they need to know to survive. So when I say everything, I literally mean the parents will teach them what to eat. Unlike your dog or your cat, who will go out and nibble on things and see if something is good to eat, beavers don't do that. And I found that out when I took Beave out when he first started to eat solids, because he was bottle fed for a long time with very special beaver formula, not goat's milk like we give most of our rehabs. So I found out that when I brought Beave out to eat the wild vegetation, he wasn't eating it and he didn't have any interest in eating it. But when I showed him and mimicked what to eat, he finally understood. But even then he wouldn't eat it by himself. I had to hand feed it to him. So just the simple act of eating solids for a beaver takes a long time. So his rehab process will be 2 years. The other question I always get, of course, that ties into that is, well, how did I get him? How did I acquire him? Well, a lady called me one day and said that she had found a beaver on the side of the road, which for anyone to ever find a baby beaver is rare enough to begin with, but even out of the ordinary, extraordinarily rare to find a baby beaver on the side of the road, because the parents would never take them out of the lodge when they're that small. Beave was 3 weeks when he was brought to me. He was healthy, he was in good condition, which leads me to believe that his parents probably got killed. They probably got killed by illegal trapping. I don't know that for a fact, but it's not normal for both parents to not be around. And both parents take a huge role in rearing the children. So he obviously was out of his lodge for some unknown reason, and he was on the side of the road. So the lady brought him to me to be rehabbed, and it was a big decision for me because the commitment to a beaver is 2 years, unlike our other animals. So I had to really decide, do I want to keep this beaver and care for him for 2 years? And then, of course, not to mention the damage he's going to be doing around the property, around the yard, in the house, to the furniture. And I did know that their characteristics were he was going to start to pull objects to practice damming, and obviously he was going to want to chew on everything. So it was a very big commitment, but I had decided to do it. However, before I decided to do it, I did a lot of research. I called a lot of other rehabbers that were experienced with beavers, and I actually tried to find another sanctuary to take him that was equipped with the proper care for a beaver, because it is a lot of work. The problem was I couldn't find anybody. He's crawling on my back. I couldn't find anybody, and everybody that I did call, all the big sanctuaries up north, hi baby, were closed because of the pandemic. So I really didn't have a choice but to keep him. But after a couple of weeks of having him, I started to understand his needs. And as you can tell by all the other videos, beavers are very, very vocal. Baby beavers are very vocal. But now I understand when he is vocal, what his needs are. I can't get it on video, but he does do a very low little moan when he greets me. It's so low that it's just inaudible when I try to film it. But he doesn't always do those high-pitched squeaks and squeals. But he has all these different types of vocalizations that I'm learning what his needs are. So it's been a process, just kind of like raising a child. Beave was born in May of 2020, so he is approximately like an 8-month-old baby. So for everybody that says, why don't you just release him? Well, that would be like putting an 8-month-old baby outside. You couldn't do that. Beavers have to obviously build lodges to keep warm in the winter. Inside their lodge, it's actually very warm. So an 8-month-old would never know how to build a lodge. So he's got a ton of training that he's going to have to go through in the next 2 years. In the next 2 years, so that he's confident, and I'm confident that he's going to be ready to be released. But everybody always wants to know, will he become aggressive? Absolutely, he will become aggressive. He's a wild animal. All wild animals become aggressive. And there are people out there that say, no, I have a raccoon and he's not aggressive, or I have a skunk and he's not aggressive. Something's wrong there. That's always a red flag for me. If somebody has an animal that doesn't show some aggressive tendencies. And the problem with wildlife becoming aggressive that most people don't understand is that it happens overnight. All of a sudden, you will go in to feed them or care for them and you get a big chunk taken out of your leg, because the hormones start to kick in, and that's nature. That's supposed to happen. So even though Beave is very sweet with me now, he's a toddler. He's a child. So he doesn't know to be aggressive. To me, to him, I'm mom. I'm his caregiver. I feed him. I take care of him, and he knows me as safety. But in 2 years, when he becomes mature and he becomes an adult, his hormones will kick in, and he will want to go find a mate. So when we rehab animals, we look at when their aggression starts, because that to us is a really nice indicator that we're doing something right. They're coming along and they are ready to go back out in the wild, because aggression is a good defense. We want him to be aggressive so he knows how to defend predators. So next and last question. Everybody wants to know this. What does his tail feel like, and what does his tail do? His tail feels like leather, like heavy, thick leather. It's made out of fat. There is a bone in there. A lot of people eat beaver tail because it's kind of like bacon. You know, it's very high in fat. His tail is used for a rudder when he's in the water. He uses it just like a boat to steer himself. They don't use it as a tool. That's kind of a myth. A lot of people think that beavers use their tail as tools, but they don't. They just use it to steer themselves in the water. So hopefully this answered a lot of your questions, but we'll do another one for those of you who are following me on TikTok but want to know more. You can always check out the YouTube channel, and I know these videos are not as exciting as Beave doing something, and I know that I'm not the person, or I'm not the creature that you want to see on the video. You want to see Beave, but because it's only 30 seconds I get, I figured I would expand a little.